Hello, hello, hello. Ladies and gentlemen of YouTube, this is Megneous and I am back. I believe I've been missing for 4 months, 5 months, something like that. It's a very long story. I ended up sort of having to get a new job and moving and stuff like that. Things were really chaotic, so let's just forget that that happened and move on with our lives, make some more videos. Let's see, very quick news. Guild Wars 2 is really fun, but I'm not really playing it anymore, so maybe I'll upload some of the things that I did. But basically everyone already knows what's going on with Guild Wars 2 now, so maybe there won't really be any necessity for that sort of thing. However, while many people do know about this game, Kerbal Space Program, it's still in alpha, so many people probably have not played it. And to them I would say, run away very fast. I'll explain soon. So Kerbal Space Program, I tried to explain to a friend what this game is like, and more or less I had to come down and say that it was an exploration space simulator with real orbital mechanics, or at least something akin to real orbital mechanics. If you remember my Osmos game with the orbital mechanics, the radial velocity one, where you spin around a black hole, yeah, that stuff can be difficult. This is so much more difficult, it's not even funny. I just started playing this game yesterday. I watched a lot of tutorials and tried to fly a little bit. It didn't work out that well, but I can at least get a rocket off the ground now, so I'm not a complete fool at the moment, but I have yet to establish a real orbit around my planet. For those of you who have never played this game, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about, but don't worry, we'll get to that, I'll explain. So, this is Kerbal Space Program. It's made by an indie company, I believe called Savage? I think Savage. It's an indie company that's been working on this game for about 2 years maybe. It's currently in version 0.18. This came out maybe 2 weeks ago, and people were really excited about it. It added lots of new things like docking and things that the other versions didn't have. But it's nowhere near completed. It's still in alpha, and on their website you can buy it currently for 23 American dollars, 23 US. So it's a little bit steep for an indie title that's still in alpha, but in my personal opinion I think it's really worth it because they've been working really hard on this for 2 years. It clearly shows in the game, and you can tell that this game would be difficult to program. So yes, these are Kerbals. The Kerbals are a somewhat recently spacefaring race. They start off with their little, we'll actually start and I'll show you. Start game. The Moon. The Moon, spelled with a U with an umlaut over it, is the name of their orbiting satellite, their natural satellite. Megneous. Okay, so this is the screen that you start off at. There are 3 buildings. This is the tracking station. It keeps track of things like moons and planets, and you can look at them and learn a little bit about them. This is the launch pad. This is the vehicle assembly building, which is where you build your rockets, your probes, your rovers, where you build everything. I've never used the spaceplane hangar before, but I believe this is where you build spaceplanes, which are just planes that can go high enough to enter low orbit and upper orbit. But usually, at least at the beginning, you're going to be building things here with the vehicle assembly building. So, let's go here. This is where the Kerbals go to do their science. They're sort of a questionable race. If you read anything online about the Kerbals, everyone will play around with them as if they're very enthusiastically pro blowing up and putting more rockets, using more boosters, things like that. They're really sort of silly. They're not very good at science. You're the brain behind everything. They're just sort of along for the ride. And yeah. So you build spaceships, but it's pretty complicated to build a spaceship. There are lots of parts. You start off with like a pod and add fuel. Oh my gosh, what am I doing? Yeah, that doesn't look right at all. That doesn't look right either. Yeah, I don't like this one. Let's start a new one. How about this one? Yeah, that's smaller. Okay. So I'm just gonna put some stuff together just to show you guys basically what this looks like. Yeah, so you get the idea. You start with a pod, you add some other parts, fuel tanks, and rockets. Here in control there are SAS modules. These allow you to stabilize your rocket while you're going up in the air. These are RCS thrusters. These are like those little tiny thrusters that you see going on when someone's floating in orbit, just to correct radial velocity and orientation and things like that. There are struts. These are struts for support. Basically, gonna have to put down a fuel tank or two so that you can see. Struts are basically for support. They're to hold other things together. See there? Yeah, but they're sort of iffy, sort of buggy. Again, this is still in alpha. You can add connectors like this, which allow you to build things outward. Let's see if, yes, okay. And this is of course useful for building things like space stations, which you can either build here on the ground and then shoot into orbit, or you can put them into orbit one piece at a time and then connect them in orbit, which I will probably never be able to do because I'm terrible at changing orbits, and a rendezvous in orbit is just absolutely insane. Okay, so I'm not going to build an entire spaceship because it's very complex with many different parts, including parachutes and the little thrusters I showed you, and different kinds of fuel and thrusters and engines and staging. Each, as you add things, you get stages, and you have to, let's see, propulsion. See, this just added a stage. You go through these stages, like 1 through 8 for example, by hitting the spacebar. And when I first made a rocket, I was unable to actually make my rocket fly for about an hour because I didn't understand what I was doing, and my staging was all wrong, and my rockets actually weren't being turned on in my first stage. So if you play this game, be sure to check your staging. It's important. You can click and drag these things into different stages and make extra stages and things like that. Do beware, that's very important. Do the tutorials. I cannot stress it enough. Do the tutorials. So let's see. I'm gonna exit for a bit. I want to show you guys the solar system. Okay, so this is Kerbal. Kerbal is our planet. It looks very similar to Earth. It's quite cute. Apparently there was a giant impact crater here. Some sort of asteroid maybe. There are many Easter eggs in this game, so there may actually be something on that island if I ever get there, but I haven't gotten there yet. Where are we? There we are, yeah. So this is our space station, not space station, our, sort of like our launch pad. Our space program is situated here, sort of in something that looks like Africa. So this is an Earth-like planet, a temperate planet. We have poles. We may have deserts. Yeah, we have deserts. Look at that. This is not the only planet. If you zoom out, there is the moon. The moon is probably the first planet that you're going, well, not a planet, but celestial body you're going to go to outside of your own orbit. But I have yet to achieve orbit for my own planet, so I'm not going to go there yet. Not just yet. Maybe soon. This is the second moon of Kerbal, Megneous. It's quite different. Each of these planets are different in that they have different velocities, different masses, different gravities. Some have atmospheres, some don't. So that's our orbit around Kerbal. The sun. They call it Sun, but that's not its name, actually. There's Moho and Eve and many other planets, and some of these planets have a variety of moons, like the large gas giant Joule has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 satellites. Not as many as Jupiter. Jupiter has over 60, I believe, but it's a game, so let's not worry about that just yet. So in the final game, when this is all finished, you're going to not know about these planets, or at least not have any information on them until you start sending probes to them. And after you send probes and they land, then you start to collect science information, which you use to plot trajectories and things like that, so you can actually get to those planets, get into orbit, put a space station there, put down probes, or send your Kerbals. You don't have to send your Kerbals as astronauts, but why not? You have an infinite number of them, and some of them, like Jebediah, are particularly enthusiastic about flying. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's start new, and I wanted to load one of these. These are rockets that are automatically put into the loading files, so you can load them. They're pre-made. They supposedly work, but I found that some of them don't work as easily as you may think. I really suggest building your own rocket. Here's my rocket, the Meglander 0.1. It'll be updated to the Meglander 1 if I can ever actually get it into orbit. As you can see, it's a multi-stage rocket. It has 4 stages. The parachute, the decouplers break the rocket in half, sort of like when you see a space shuttle going into orbit and it drops its fuel tanks. Doing that makes you lighter and makes it easier to continue going up through the atmosphere. Another decoupler, there's another smaller rocket in here to use while in orbit. This basically is supposed to get me into orbit. I need to change some things because it doesn't really have enough fuel, and these wings are cool. I like them. And I forgot what these are called, but they're quite cool. You have to set them to unleash your rocket at the same time as your thrusters. Otherwise, when your engines start, you're just going to sit still. Or if your engines don't start, they start and then let go of your rocket and you fall straight down. I wanted to try one of these before I actually send my own rocket back into space. 'Cause some of these look really cool. Yeah, like this. Look at this nonsense. This is not an example of a particularly large rocket. This rocket could be much bigger, but it looks cool. And I want to try it out. So we're going to try this out. We're going to take it to the launch pad. Clear the launch pad. I have no idea what's going to happen with this. This could end with me getting into orbit for the first time. This could end with me dying terribly. But let's see what happens. Okay, so this is the launch screen. This is your launch pad. Launches are ridiculously complicated for some people. They're sort of difficult to remember to do everything. The left shift increases your thrust. Your throttle needs to be up somewhere between 80 and 100%. This is your altimeter. This is how high you are. I have no idea what this is. This is the atmosphere. We're currently in dense atmosphere. This is light, very light, and space. If you can get up here, you're officially in space. Maybe not in a good orbit, maybe an orbit that will degrade. Maybe you'll come back down to the planet and die terribly. But yeah, so this is space. This is your crew. Depending on what your rocket is doing, such as spinning and dying and blowing up, they will have various faces. They're not very interested in anything at the moment. Makdrin, Durden, and Shepming. I have no idea who they are. I wish I had Jebediah. You can change your pitch and your yaw using the WASD keys. You can see my pitch and my yaw. This is your nav ball. This is your best friend. You need to learn how to use it very quickly. It is completely necessary if you want to fly at all. T turns on and off SAS. SAS is the controller thing that I told you about earlier. It will show you how you can... It basically stabilizes your craft so that you don't fall and start tilting while you're going up into space. And R turns on your RCS, which are your little thrusters, which are then used with H and some other keys. I'm not really sure about that. I need to test that. I will test that after I get into orbit. So Q and E roll also as well, rolling. Alright, so I can't think of anything else to explain before I just go ahead and try to fly this. I have no idea how to fly this rocket. I've never done this particular rocket before. So let's see what happens. Spacebar to start the staging, and here we go. Oh, here we go. Yes. Turn on SAS. Oh god, I'm already tilting. I'm tilting more. Oh, what's happening? Oh, Mactron's freaking out. Oh, this isn't good. Oh, turn off SAS. Must fix. Go up. You have to be very careful using. Oh gosh. Oh no, I'm running out of fuel. Oh, sweet mother of God. Oh, this isn't good. Oh no. You have to be very careful using the WASD keys. It will send you into nonsense. How do I decouple? Ooh, very good. Right then. Yeah, decouple. So I just decoupled a ton of rockets, and I'm trying to keep my spacecraft level. This isn't working out so well, but I am climbing. I am climbing through the atmosphere, so that's good. Oh, I had SAS, and that's why. Okay. Oh, SAS is terrible on this rocket. Why? Oh, I don't want to do this manually. Oh, what's going on? Okay, guys. So I'm sorry. I don't really know what's going on, but this is sort of ridiculous. Having to manually control this as we go up. But the nav ball is your friend. This yellow circle shows where you're going to. This is where you're headed, where you're pointed, basically. So you can use that to burn into prograde orbit. I think that's what it's called. And do I have RCS on? I do have RCS on. That's dumb. I shouldn't do that. Yeah, SAS is terrible on this rocket. Okay, so now that I'm here in orbit, I need to start moving towards a 90-degree angle. Ah, yes, space. Oh god, this is terrible. What am I doing? Separate. Oh god, what am I doing? Okay, you can do this, Megneous. Come on, Macton. Oh, they're freaking out. Oh, this is so hard. Does this even have SA? I don't know if this has SAS. This is just like spinning around out of control. Let's check our map with M. Where am I? Okay, I need to burn somewhere about here in that direction at about a 90-degree angle in order to decrease my orbit. Let's warp. Oh, the ship is throttled up. Okay. Let's put the throttle down. Alright, very good. And